Hi everyone, how are you doing? It is me, Bryan Barron, Director of Skin Care Research for Paula's Choice Skincare, here with our last live chat of the year. I apologize, we were supposed to be on last Thursday, which I think would have been December 8th, and I've been, you may still hear it in my voice, I've been getting over a sinus infection, and I basically had no voice to speak of or speak with last week, so it would have been a very annoying, frustrating chat for you to listen to, an annoying, frustrating chat for me to try to get through, but I'm on the mend. I am feeling better. Today's topic, it's actually, I think it's even a little bit better that we pushed it out another week. Winter skincare. Basically, it's a problem solution oriented show, and it's also going to be a very product-oriented chat. Off to my right here off camera where you can't see, I have a whole litany of products because I was sitting here thinking, I live in Michigan. It gets cold here. It gets dry here in the winter. Obviously, not every part of the world experiences winter, like most of the United States does and Canada and whatnot. But pretty much every place has its cooler seasons, and skin can absolutely be affected with those changes in the seasons, particularly when the humidity drops and you're spending more time in both outdoors and indoors. You've got low humidity environments, and then you have recirculated hot air, which is further exacerbating dryness on your face, on your lips, on your scalp. So I'm going to talk about some of the things, the tips and tricks that I have experimented with over the years, what I've recommended to other people, and for the most part, they work. I mean, I wish I could say that all of this advice is going to be equally applicable to everyone, in any given situation, but we know that's not the case. However, it should prove helpful for the majority of you. So as I go down my list and recommend some products and whatnot, I would love to hear if there is a winter or weather-related skincare problem that you are dealing with or anticipate dealing with, and you wanted to pick my brain for some advice. So the biggest problem most people have, regardless of their skin type, regardless of their age, their ethnicity, how healthy their diet is, in a classic situation where you've got dry, cold, low humidity air, indoors and out, you get dry skin. Now, if you are somebody who has oily skin on your face, you may not necessarily see all that oil go away. It may become a little bit less bothersome than it is in the spring and summer. But if you've got that oil pumping, you're not going to see it completely dry up and all of a sudden it's cold outside and your face is a raisin. Not going to happen. However, because physiologically, we don't have the same number of oil glands from head to toe, you may, as somebody with oilier combination skin on your face, find that everything else from the neck down starts getting drier during the winter months. So, what should you do? You'll read this a lot, and it actually, when it comes to tips, it is a good one. During this time, try to avoid long, hot showers. And I know it's so counterintuitive, especially if you're living in a cold climate. You get out of your nice warm bed, it's kind of cold, and you can't wait to get into that steamy shower and just bask in the warmth and the moisture. But it's not good for your skin. Unfortunately, too much water can actually damage skin. It actually depletes the very substances like ceramides, cholesterol, PCA, glycerin that our skin relies on to stay cohesive, to stay together. Which is why, this advice also applies to those of you who may have a hot tub. I know a lot of people with hot tubs like going outdoors on a cold, cold night and submerging themselves in the hot tub, maybe with a glass of wine or a hot toddy. That's lovely, but just don't stay in there too long because you're not doing your skin any favors. So in addition to taking shorter showers and making sure that the water is in the warm range, not too hot and not too cold either. Skin kind of does best right in the middle there, that lukewarm kind of neutral water temperature. It's, you know, that Goldilocks temperature. For those who know the story, it's just right. So one of my favorite body washes is a very moisturizing formula from Dove. It is their sensitive skin, hypoallergenic, moisture renew blend, nourishing body wash. You can find this in most mass market stores. Of course, it's online. For those of you who are aware, Paula's Choice is now part of Unilever's Prestige Beauty stable of brands, which we're still super excited about. I could go on and on about that. However, full disclosure, we were a Dove using family long before that. If you guys have been watching these chats for a while, because there's another Dove product I am going to recommend later on. But yeah, this is just, it's one of my favorite body washes. It's creamy, it's gentle, and it's got a very good ratio or mix of skin conditioning fatty acids. So those work not only to create softer, smoother skin after you rinse, but they also help to keep the surfactants, the detergent cleansing agents, from over-drying your skin. Now, are there other moisturizing body washes? Yes. Olay and Aveeno are other brands to look for. Eucerin has some very, very rich, at least last I knew, they still made an oil-based body wash that had surfactants in it, and CeraVe made one at one point. I'm not 100% sure they still do. So yes, you have other options out there. I'm recommending the Dove simply because it has, I mean, our whole family uses it and it's never given us an issue. And on balance, it's affordable. And honestly, I love it with the pump. Once you've had that pump, you don't go back to the squirt bottles. I'm telling you. Okay. Another tip for dry skin in general, if you're not already doing this in the indoor environment you can control, is to run humidifiers, particularly in your bedroom overnight. If you have a larger bedroom and you can't find a larger humidifier, buy 2 smaller ones. Have them firing on opposite sides of the room. It can make a world of difference, particularly during this season where more of us tend to get upper respiratory infections, respiratory viruses, and the nose gets very dried out and whatnot. It can help make your breathing more comfortable at night and help your skin. So those are my 2 tips for dry skin in general. If you are not already using a body moisturizer, body lotion of some type, you may want to consider adding one to your routine for use after you shower. I am a huge fan and daily user of the Paula's Choice Daily Replenishing Body Cream. This is from my personal collection. It's actually one of my backup tubes. This is one of those products I don't want to be out of, so I order it frequently. Always make sure I have some in reserve. There are numerous body lotions and creams out there. I'm not telling you have to use ours. I think it's fantastic. But based on your budget and the convenience factor, I wish I could say there's just like a fantastic trove of state-of-the-art body lotions and creams at drugstores and mass market stores. The truth is there isn't. It's not that there aren't some good ones, but most of them are more, they give you some of those tried and true workhorse ingredients and then they kind of skimp on everything else. Now, the good news is that those tried and true ingredients can pretty much do their job of preventing moisture loss and helping, which is also called transepidermal water loss, that keeps that balanced amount of water in skin. And for the most part, they have decent aesthetics. They can definitely restore that smooth, supple, comfortable feeling. Some of them can even help reduce itchy skin, which can be a problem with dryness in the winter. It's, your skin gets so dry it literally starts to itch. By the way, if that's an ongoing issue for you year-round, talk to your healthcare provider or dermatologist. You may have eczema. Very common, and there's a ton of stuff out there, mostly in the prescription realm, but not all, that can help. Really, really help make a big difference. So don't suffer with dry, itchy skin. There are definitely things you can do. I wanted to see if there's anything else I wanted to add about body lotions. If you have a body lotion slash cream that you find works really well for you in the warmer months, and you otherwise just love it, and you don't necessarily want to hunt for a new, richer, thicker body cream at this time of year, I understand that. A quick solution, though, to make your product even richer is to add oil to it. Like our Moisture Renewal Oil Booster, this blends 9 different non-fragrant plant oils plus some ceramides. You have to experiment to kind of get that ratio of oil to lotion that works best for you, but you could just dispense some lotion, your usual amount, maybe start with 2 or 3 drops of something like this. You can also go to a health food store, take a look at their selection of non-fragrant plant oils, pick up a bottle of jojoba oil, evening primrose oil, barrage seed oil is a good one. Some people like coconut oil. That's definitely going to feel heavier because it's very, very saturated. The others I mentioned are going to feel lighter because they're unsaturated. And all of those other ones I mentioned, you'll find in here. So if you kind of want to, get something like this and have the work done for you, I always have this on hand. And use it often in the winter months for many different things. I've even put a drop or 2 of that in my styling cream that I normally use if I notice my hair is looking a little drier, which absolutely happens during winter. But I don't necessarily have thick, lustrous hair, despite how it might look on camera. But I find like a drop of that is plenty with my usual stuff. If you have thick, highly textured, coarse, curly hair, go nuts with this because your hair is probably going to love it. It's just going to drink it up. And it's much easier to wash out than a heavier oil or even some of those silicone serums that are still out there. Those can be tricky to shampoo out, and then they end up building up on the hair. Let's move on to dry hands. That is probably one of the most common areas to experience dryness during dry, cold winter weather, especially with most of us. Even before COVID, I was always one of those people that, people tend to get sick more in the winter because we're indoors more and we're not spending time outside getting fresh air. So I was just always one of those people that would automatically wash my hands more at this time of year. And what would that do with standard liquid hand soaps and definitely bar soaps? It dries out your hands. It really, really just depletes them. They end up getting cracked and sometimes painful, sometimes even, they'll start bleeding. That's an extreme example. But one of the things that I found is very helpful, that same body wash or a similar one that I mentioned earlier, here's the Dove again. Go around your house and fill up your soap dispensers with that. So everywhere you go in the house to wash your hands, you're getting that same nice, creamy, moisturizing experience, and you're still getting your hands clean. And then immediately afterwards, apply a hand cream, a body cream of your choice. As much as I love our daily replenishing body cream for the neck down, the one I use the most for hand cream because it absorbs super fast is Aveeno Skin Relief Moisturizing Lotion. Again, this is it's fragrance free. It's definitely good for eczema-prone skin. Active ingredient is dimethicone at 1.2%. But again, as much as I like the texture of this and how it kind of quickly lets me go back to using my hands for other stuff, it's not the most elegant formula. It's kind of bare bones, but it does the job. And that costs about the tube. It comes in larger sizes as well. I think I pay about $7.99 for the tube, so it's reasonable. There are a lot of good hand creams out there, so I'd urge you to experiment. There's one from Avon that they've had for years. Again, it's kind of basic, but it's really glycerin heavy, along with some rice bran oil, and so it's kind of it's thick. That one is a good example of what you might want to slather on your hands and around your nails at night before you go to bed, and you can don a pair of cotton gloves to keep the hand cream in place and not get it all over your bed linens. Some people also like to use those moisturizing gloves that you may have seen that they have usually like mineral oil and a couple of other emollients that are infused into the lining of the glove. And so you don't even need to put a hand cream on. You just slip your hands into the gloves, and then as your body heat interacts with the lining of the glove, it releases those emollients to help soften your hands. It's kind of like a less messy version of a paraffin. If you've ever had your nails done and stuck your hands in a paraffin dip, and then pull them out, it's nice and warm, it forms that wax. The gloves don't do that, but they really leave your hands smooth and soft afterwards. So that's another option to do for dry hands as well. Dry, flaky scalp. Dandruff is sometimes dry, flaky scalp is dandruff, which is caused by a yeast that is present on everybody's scalp, but on some people it tends to overproliferate, and it can cause the inflammation that leads to the itching and the flaking of what we know as dandruff. However, during dry, cold winter months, some people just get a drier scalp for the exact same reason they get drier skin. So just bear in mind that if you do see flakes on your scalp, and it's not necessarily accompanied by any scaling or redness per se, you may not be dealing with dandruff. However, if you're not sure, if you don't want to go to the doctor to find out, is it dandruff or dry scalp, a product like this is the other Dove one I wanted to mention, Dove Derm Care Scalp, their anti-dandruff shampoo. This is medicated with a pyrithione zinc, which from the research I've seen is probably the most broad spectrum and effective topical antifungal to deal with dandruff. And it's very soothing. So even if your dry, flaky scalp isn't true dandruff, it isn't going to hurt you to use a product like this. And the other thing I love about this, and it's like $4 or $5 a bottle, it's super concentrated. A little of this goes a long way, and it produces a really rich, creamy lather. So even if you have naturally dry, coarse hair, you're more than likely going to be pleased with that. The trick with that active ingredient is to get as much of it onto the scalp as possible. It's interesting, we think of shampoos as being a hair care product, and they're really a scalp care product. You want to focus any shampoo on your scalp and then really kind of run it through the hair as you're rinsing. Personally, I found that easier said than done. When your hair is wet, you kind of have to get it onto the hair in order to get to the scalp. So, but that's the general directive. All right, I'm going to take some questions after this next section. I wanted to talk really quick about skin splits. Kind of an offshoot of dry hands. The most common area for people to experience skin splits during the winter months are the fingertips, the sides of the fingers. Again, we're washing our hands more. If you're not being good about re-moisturizing after every wash, and I know some people, it's not habit. It can be tricky to make it habit, or maybe you don't want to look around your hand cream at the office or wherever you are during the day. So really just try to do it when you can. Don't beat yourself up if you're not doing it every time. Oh, shoot, I did forget to grab that one product I wanted to tell you about for skin splits. There's two products that I've come to rely on, and one of them is from Gold Bond, and it's like a cracked skin relief cream. I don't want to step away to go grab it because that's just weird. So I'm sorry I don't have it with me, but I really do have it here in the house. And it comes in a tube. It's maybe, I think I got it for like $4 or $5 on Amazon. I haven't seen it in stores yet, but it is a blend of petrolatum and some waxes, along with several different conditioning agents and ceramides, and it's also fragrance-free, and it kind of comes out toothpaste thick. And so like if you have a little split like along the side here and it's really starting to get painful and your regular hand cream isn't cutting it, you can literally like squeeze a line of that stuff in and just kind of like pat it in and let it, and it doesn't make your fingers feel super greasy, which I like. Now, if the split is really bad, and it's, you're seeing that there's been some bleeding, what I would advise in that case is apply a very thin layer of an antibiotic ointment, like over-the-counter stuff, polysporin, neosporin, triple antibiotic, whatever you like, and then put the split cream on, and then bandage it. Because you really want to keep those products on the wounded area. You're really dealing with a wound at that point. You want to keep it on there as long as possible. Another option, this can be good if you have lots of splits, is to use a product. This is from 3M, Next Care Skin Crack Care. And it's literally just a clear fluid that you paint on, almost like nail polish. It doesn't have a noxious odor. And it takes maybe a minute and a half to dry. But what that does is that it forms a flexible seal over the cracked area so that when you're doing things like washing hands or like, let's say you're cooking, you don't want to get lemon juice or another type of citrus in a cut like that. It really helps to protect it from those external aggressors. So this is something I use in tandem with the other I mentioned. So like, for example, if I get these splits, I may do the moisturizing first aid ointment bandage type thing at night and just wear them overnight. It's just so cute. And then I'll do the Next Care during the day. There are liquid bandage type products out there as well. I have found that those really sting, particularly if you have bad splits. So I generally don't recommend those. Okay. I'm seeing some questions piling up here, so I'm going to take a few. Oh, Miss Annapurna. Hi, Brian. Glad you're feeling better. Can you tell us your thoughts about at-home microneedling pens? I am cautiously optimistic about microneedling in general, but from everything that I've seen and read, I would strongly encourage you to have it done by a professional. If you are one of those DIYers, and you get to know your professional esthetician who's go in for a few microneedling services. Ask them what they think about the at-home devices. Maybe they have one that they recommend, and then you can start doing something like that at home. My concern with the at-home devices is how good are consumers going to be at keeping them sanitary, and then how good are consumers going to be, because we do tend to get overzealous and if a little is good, a lot must be better. The directions say don't use this more than once a week, and we're like, oh, I can do 3 days. I've got hardy skin. So that's my concern, is that you're going to end up overdoing it, or you're going to be doing it too often. And one of the things that the research has shown, when microneedling treatments are spaced out at the proper intervals, which is typically 4 to 6 weeks, you get a nice stimulation of collagens 1 and 3, which are the main springy, healthy collagens in skin. If you needle your skin, either have somebody else do it or you're doing it at home, and you do that too often, particularly if it's more of a power device, meaning you're getting more of a, for lack of a better word, puncture, you end up producing too much wound healing collagen. That type of collagen is necessary when we injure ourselves, because the skin's first line of duty, separate from the immune response, is repairing the damage, is knitting that skin back together. And collagen is a big part of that. And because time is of the essence, and we want to avoid infection, the skin starts making the easiest collagen for it to make, so to speak. And it's just not as pretty or as smooth or as functional. That happens for a few days, and then the normal collagens, the beautiful triple helixy collagens, start filling in. So that is almost like the not so great collagen is a bit of a stopgap, to stop the flood, so to speak. And then, the skin knows what to do. However, if you're consistently injuring your skin with those needles, you're always keeping it in the state of making that wound healing collagen. And over time, that can backfire because it's stiffer, it's inflexible, it's just not as pretty. So I'm very concerned about people using those microneedling devices at home too frequently and too aggressively. Okay, Moni Pui. Hey, Brian, off topic, but I'm very interested in your opinion about products containing plant-derived epidermal growth factors. Do they work? Are they safe to be used on skin where moles are present? So, plants don't have an epidermis. and this, as far as I know, the same growth factors that let a broccoli plant flourish into broccoli are not going to impact human skin the way they impact the plant. Very much like you can put plant stem cells on your skin, but your stem cells, human stem cells, are not going to recognize the plant stem cells and say, close enough. However, they will function as antioxidants, and I suspect that the plant-derived epidermal growth factors will do the same. I don't think that it would be a safety issue when moles are present. I don't know if your concern is that the growth factors are going to cause the moles to darken or cause new moles to form. That's not exactly how it works, but even if that was exactly how it works, what you're putting on your skin does not. I'm almost 99.9% sure it does not have any real influence on the growth factors in your skin. It's just a nice antioxidant type ingredient, and as long as it's not coming from a fragrant plant, which can be a source of irritation, I see no harm in using them. But don't pay extra money for a product like that thinking you're getting special growth factors. And again, even if they are growth factors, they're from a plant. They're not going to have an impact on epidermal differentiation and whatnot on your skin, on human skin. Okay. Jennifer asks, can you mix hydroquinone with the tranexamic acid for my hyperpigmentation? You can. I have not seen any research or evidence that doing so is contraindicated. However, the comparative studies that looked at hydroquinone at a 4% concentration and tranexamic acid at a 3% concentration, which is the amount we're using in our clinical discoloration repair serum, hydroquinone was shown to be more irritating than tranexamic acid. What was the ratio? I think about, in a 60-person group, I think about a third of the participants using the 4% hydroquinone experienced some amount of irritation in the area where it was applied, and maybe 10 in the tranexamic acid group experienced irritation. But in all of those instances, they rated it much lower than did the people in the hydroquinone group who experienced irritation. So that's my only precaution. I don't see any issue with layering them in terms of one making the other less effective. But just pay attention to how your skin responds. And if you see or feel signs of irritation, my advice would be to separate applications. So perhaps you're putting the hydroquinone product on at night and the tranexamic acid product on in the morning. Or if you only want to use one, figure out a pattern where you can use hydroquinone on some days and tranexamic acid on other days. What about, says, hi Brian, nice to see you. Can I wax my legs when regularly using BHA and AHA? Thank you. You should be fine with that. What I wouldn't do is apply an AHA exfoliant immediately after waxing. I would go for the BHA in that regard because of its natural soothing properties. And even then you may want to wait 24 hours or so after waxing to put on any type of acid-based exfoliant. Just use a regular moisturizer instead. Okay, Mary says, hi Brian, I use water-infusing electrolyte moisturizer. In winter, it's not enough for my face. Well, I don't think it would be if you're getting drier in the winter. Can you recommend a different PC moisturizer or a hydrating PC face mask? Well, I'll start with the mask, Mary. I use the water-infusing electrolyte moisturizer during the summer months. But one of my favorite overnight masks from our range is the Radiance Renewal Mask. It's lovely. It's a thicker gel cream. You just kind of slather it on it, and it doesn't. It definitely feels humectant-y. You'll definitely feel like you have something on your skin. It doesn't completely absorb, but you wake up the next morning, rinse off what remains, or you can rinse it off after 10-15 minutes if you prefer. I like leaving it on overnight. And your skin is just like glowy and baby butt smooth. But in terms of a day-to-day moisturizer to take the place of the water-infusing electrolyte, You could go, I would say the Resist Barrier Repair Moisturizer is a bit heavier. It also will give you some retinol. It's a low amount of retinol, still effective but low. If you wanted to add that to your routine. The other one, if you want something that is a bit more substantive on the moisture, still light, but creamier, is our Omega Plus Complex Moisturizer. That is personally the one that I switch to in fall and winter, and then when it gets warmer, I'll probably hop back to the water-infusing electrolyte moisturizer, depending on how my skin is doing. Amy asks, any suggestions for someone who can't tolerate vitamin C? Amy, there are so many different types of vitamin C and then differing concentrations, and vitamin C is the most abundant antioxidant that occurs in the human skin. So it's very rare for somebody to have an allergic reaction to vitamin C. You're almost always going to be allergic to something else in the product. Now, can you become irritated from vitamin C? Yeah, depending on the formula. Some people's skin does not do as well with higher concentrations, like 10% and up of vitamin C. So I would urge you to keep experimenting with various strengths and types of vitamin C to see if you can find one that is compatible. But vitamin C, despite being the most abundant antioxidant in our skin, if you are using daily sun protection and you're using a product that has other antioxidants in it, you're consuming vitamin C rich foods regularly and/or taking a vitamin C supplement if necessary. Some people do that. It's a water soluble vitamin, meaning that the body doesn't store it, so you are going to eliminate, if you know what I mean, what your body can't use at that time. Another thing that you could try experimenting with is using a serum type product like our Power Berry Serum in the Earth Source line that has several different berry extracts that are natural sources of vitamin C. So it's not pure direct vitamin C like our C15 Super Booster is, but you're getting plant extracts that are very potent antioxidants. And one of the reasons that they're very potent antioxidants is because they contain varying amounts of vitamin C. So that would be another avenue to explore introducing that antioxidant to your routine and see how your skin does. Amy says that Aveeno lotion is good. I've used it for years, keeps hands moisturized. Yeah, and I told one of my coworkers about that. And I was almost a little embarrassed, and maybe I was being a bit snobby because I like our moisturizer so much. But yeah, this one, and I was like, well, I use this on my hands, and he's like, I do too. But yeah, I mean, ultimately you have to do what's most convenient in terms of like not wanting to wait around a long time before you can get back to doing what you need to do. The King says, hey Bryan, does putting retinol or tretinoin after the moisturizer alter the effect of the vitamin A? What does the science say? So is putting vitamin A after the calm moisturizer for dry skin okay? It is often recommended, particularly for prescription retinoids. I've heard many dermatologists say this over the years, that if you are having an issue tolerating your prescription retinoid, you can put it on after or over your moisturizer. It will get through. I just mentioned vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, pure ascorbic acid. Vitamin A, retinol, is a fat-soluble vitamin, oil-soluble vitamin. So yes, it can get through your moisturizer, and it will take longer. You don't have that direct contact with the skin, but it will make its way through. So there's no reason to avoid doing that, thinking that you're rendering the retinoid ineffective. You're just slowing down the amount of time it takes for it to reach its target areas of skin and have that conversion happen where it becomes retinoic acid, which is really the active form. Imagine imagery. imagery. MRC, hi Brian, I'm taking Isotretinoin, which is oral vitamin A, and have some problems with redness on my cheeks. Is PC's Calm Moisturizer for normal to dry skin an emollient enough option for someone taking Isotretinoin? I would say yes, if you are not experiencing, like, if your cheeks are not to the point where they're feeling really rough and red and you're just seeing a lot of unwanted texture changes. I think that would be sufficient. If you are seeing those signs as well, I would step it up to something like our Clinical Ultra Rich Moisturizer, which is very concentrated. You only need a little dab of it, and you can just kind of like dot it over those areas, let it warm up to your body temperature, and then gently smooth it in and let it do its thing. It's super rich. It's got some plant butters in there. So that would be, I'm trying to think if there's a good in-between option. Because the Calm one for normal to dry and the Resist Intensive Repair Cream, for that matter, are pretty rich. The Resist Intensive Repair Cream contains retinol. As I understand it, that's generally contraindicated for topical use when you're taking oral vitamin A, but you could ask your prescribing dermatologist about that. Another question from my mom, is it okay to use 0.3% retinol plus 2% bakuchiol treatment under the eyes, or is it too strong? No, it's fine. I do it all the time. Go up to the orbital bone, little bony ridge there. Don't put it on the eyelid itself. You can put a tiny bit on the underbrow area if you want to. I kind of just do it on the forehead and kind of massage it into the eyebrows, because again, it's going to migrate up, or it's going to migrate down a little bit as it warms to your body temperature. And the concern with putting it on the underbrow area and of course the eyelids, which is very thin, but doing so with any bioactive skincare product also increases the risk that it will get into the eye itself, and that's not what we want. We don't want to have you end up with irritated eyes. Okay. Bioeffects term. Okay. Stephanie says, hi Brian, I get confused about percentages. I'm getting confused. I get confused with how percentages in skincare work in relation to how much you put on. I have a 5% tretinoin product. My skin has been peeling this winter. It didn't peel over the summer. All right, is that missing a decimal point? I have never heard of a 5% tretinoin product unless you got a pharmacist to compound that for you. That is a really, really high amount. So I'm not surprised your skin is peeling. But yeah, I mean, if there is a 5% concentration of something in a product, like for example, our 2% BHA liquid, per dose, that is how much you're putting on. You can't, just because you're pouring some out, that 2% that's in that solution is coming out with it. It isn't going to diminish. It's always going to be 2%. Interestingly, that's why, this is where some math is involved that my brain is not processed to equip at the moment, but if you layer two products with 2% salicylic acid, you're not totaling 4% salicylic acid, but you are getting a bit more than 2%. I know, it's like, I wish I was more mathematically inclined, but I have had chemists explain that to me in the past, like, why doesn't this equal 4%? And at the moment, I wish I could remember the equation that they showed me, but the bottom line is it doesn't equal, it's not additive in the sense of 2%, 2%, 4%, but you are getting more than you would with just 1-2% exfoliant. Okay. Then Stephanie says, if I use half the amount of that 5% test product, is that kind of like using 2.5% version of the same product? No, you'd still be getting 5%. I know it's confusing because you could, try to equate that with food and think like, okay, I want to eat a chocolate chip cookie, but it's got 200 calories. If I only eat half of that cookie, I'm getting 100 calories, give or take. But it's just, it doesn't work the same with skincare, unfortunately. Andrea says she's glad I'm feeling better. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. Happy holidays to you, too. Stephanie, 0.05%. That's more like it. Okay, good. I'm not... got it. Okay. So, Stephanie, I would say for the peeling, I would definitely reduce frequency of application, not necessarily how much. Really, about a pea-sized dab. A lot of people don't believe that, and I get it because some of the RX tretinoin products, they're not in the most elegant base, and so you squeeze out a pea-sized amount as directed, and it can be tricky to spread that evenly all over your face. It kind of like starts getting a bit waxy, and it just doesn't have a very nice slip to it. If that describes what you're experiencing, Stephanie, then what I would do is add in a couple drops of an oil like this to give the product more slip. Doesn't have to be our oil. It can be any non-fragrant plant oil that you can find Whole Foods, wherever. And that the emollient, the antioxidant, and the soothing properties that those non-fragrant plant oils have could actually also help alleviate some of the peeling, but I would still urge you to cut back on frequency of use. Okay, we have about 19 or so minutes left. We may not go the whole hour, but we'll see. So I'm going to get back to the winter skincare topics. Keep the questions coming in if you have anything more that's on your mind. Next topic is going to be cracks around the mouth. That is known as angular cheilitis or cheilitis. It can happen at any time of year. The cause is typically a yeast that naturally lives on the skin mixing with saliva that can pool in the corner of our mouths when we are sleeping. It is much more common if you are a stomach sleeper or a side sleeper, particularly a side sleeper. And how will you know if your sleep, and most people, last I read, I think it was about 70% of people naturally sleep on their sides, at least for part of the night. It is the most common sleep position. So if the side that you normally sleep on, where your head hits the pillow, if that side of your mouth is where you're experiencing the crack, it's almost certainly related to that saliva mixing with the yeast. It's pooling in the corner of your mouth, and it's eating away, not to be too gross, but it's eating away at that skin in the corner of your mouth, and it can result in that area becoming cracked and red and inflamed and just generally uncomfortable. You can certainly experiment with various emollients to keep that area moist and lubricated during the day. But at night, you're going to need something more tenacious. So two things I recommend. Talk to a pharmacist or your healthcare provider about applying an over-the-counter antifungal cream with, like, there's clometazole, Mycotin, that type of a product. It's really the same active ingredients that you would use for athlete's foot or similar issues where fungus and yeast has overproliferated and it needs to be brought under control. And you can literally dab that cream over the affected area, but then you're going to want to follow with something else. And I have found zinc oxide gets recommended quite a bit. I have found this Aquaphor Healing Cream, 3-in-1 diaper rash cream, is a good solution, and it doesn't have that weird cod liver oil taste and aroma that a lot of diaper rash ointments do. But what this does, this balm, is it forms an opaque barrier. And you put this in the corners of your mouth at night. This formula is particularly gentle. I don't see any safety concerns whatsoever with ingesting a tiny amount of this. But what I've definitely noticed too is that it really does tend to stay where you put it. But this puts up a physical barrier overnight to keep that saliva that may be pooling there from coming into direct contact with the skin at the corner of your mouth. And zinc oxide is naturally healing. So I like it for that. You can find this particular product, at least in the States, you can find it generally in the baby care section, not the adult body lotion ointment section. You got to look for this in baby care. Of course, you could also look for it online. My go-to during at night as well, Paula's Choice Lip and Body Treatment Balm. I'm sad to say that this product is currently out of stock. And I don't think it's going to be back in stock until sometime in early part of next year. So this is literally my last jar, and I'm starting to get a bit worried. So I'm I'm rationing my Paula's Choice Lip and Body Treatment Balm, but that is great. But you again, when you're using that at night, you really want to lube up your lips, for lack of a better description. Just so put that on thick. Because what a lot of us also do at night is we lick our lips. And if you're going to bed with naked lips, as Paula says, that lip licking, and this of course is true during the day as well, it feels good in the moment. You know, you're moistening your lips, but then that saliva itself is not a very hydrating substance. So, but before long, your lips are back to feeling dry because of the ambient air. And so what do? You lick your lips again. So keeping a product like this or another thick, tenacious balm handy can really, really be a lifesaver, especially overnight. Chapped lips, which kind of is natural segue from cracks around the mouth. The Lip and Body Treatment Balm will also help with that. I've also been a big fan of our hyaluronic acid plus peptide lip booster. My husband doesn't know I have this new tube of it. You might know now because he's always taking these from me. But it's got the nice angled applicator. I like it that it feels protective and hydrating, but it's not goopy or syrupy or sticky. That's my main. It just actually, you know, it's almost like putting a nice refreshing drink of water on your lips, but it sticks around for a while. So I like it for that. For chapped lips, I just want to put this out there because the majority of products that you'll come across in stores claiming to help chapped lips it's almost like a recipe for disaster. They are set up to make your chapped lips worse. They are either super waxy, and wax in and of itself really is not emollient or moisturizing. It just forms a film that can, to some extent, can help prevent water loss, but it really doesn't do anything to address the root causes of the chapping. You really want to put those skin identical type ingredients, your ceramides, your PCA type ingredients, your cholesterol, you want to put those back. And those types of ingredients are sadly lacking in many lip balms. And then what they do have, and this is not true for all of them, of course, but a startling amount of them contain irritants, camphor, menthol, cinnamon oil, pepper oil, wintergreen oil, eucalyptus, clove oil. All of those, they definitely can give the lip balm a medicinal flavor and smell, and you know they may even say on the label that they're medicated, and you're thinking you're doing something helpful for your chapped lips, and they can feel good at first, but they will almost always make your chapping worse, and at the very least, they don't really remedy the dry, flaky, chapped lips. It's this weird, ineffective Band-Aid. So there's only a handful of lip balms that I come across at mass, in drugstores and whatnot, that I think are decent to good. I think that, actually, I have one in here, I think. Yeah. This one from Aquaphor, their lip repair immediate relief is very nice, and it's convenient. It has an angled applicator, so you can keep this in your pocket and apply it. It's fairly thick, but it's pretty comfortable. It's not sticky. I ultimately prefer our Lip and Body Treatment Balm, but I don't like taking this with me out in public because I don't like sticking a dirty finger in my lip balm. And if you're wondering, as some people have asked, why is that product in a jar? The reason is because that formula is so beloved, not only by many of you, but a lot of us who work for the company, and it cannot go into a stick or a squeeze tube. We've tried. There's no way we can replicate that formula unless it's in a jar. It's a hot pour, meaning that when it's batched, it's poured out as a thick, viscous liquid, and it's poured into the jar, and then, as it cools, it hardens. We tried to recreate it in stick form, and it just got too soft. So you'd go to put it on your lips, and it would kind of just mush up. So obviously, we wouldn't come out with something like that we know is a problem child product to begin with. And then when we changed the formula one way or the other to try to make it work in those types of components, everybody said I still like this one. So that is why. Just clearing that up in case. Let's talk really quick about another. It's a little embarrassing, but I think it can happen to a lot of us in dry, cold weather. Is your nose gets dry. Not just the area around here, but actually up inside your nose gets dry. Like you can just tell. Any gentle, fragrance-free balm type product, you can always take a little tiny bit of that, or even like CeraVe healing ointment, plain Vaseline, Aquaphor ointment, and just put, if you don't want to stick your finger up your nose, totally get it, put a little bit of the balm on a Q-tip, a clean Q-tip, cotton swab, lightly stick it and just kind of move the Q-tip around so you're getting that contact with the inside of your nostril all the way around. It'll help. It will definitely help. And if you've been doing what I've been doing the past week and using a lot of tissues, blowing your nose, I have been putting that type of stuff around my nose all week just to keep it comfortable, because if you've had a bad cold or a sinus infection in the past, you know how raw the skin around your nose can get, right? Another thing, though, to deal with dryness that is further up is to use a product that is a hypertonic saline solution, like this option from NeilMed. There's various saline nasal sprays available at drugstores and mass market stores, and they are simply salinated water, and you just mist it, and you can literally follow the directions. Insert this in the nostril, breathe in. You will likely have to blow your nose a little bit afterwards. That's fine, but that can go a long way toward keeping your nasal passages comfortable during dry, cold weather. Last thing I wanted to mention, a couple more products. If you have patches of dry, itchy skin, and you either know it's not eczema, because it's not getting much worse, or you've got that appointment lined up to get the diagnosis one way or another. This is another product that we always have on hand. It's Cortisone 10's Intensive Healing Lotion. It says for eczema. It's really just a very nicely formulated 1% hydrocortisone cream. Really nice base formula to this. It's not greasy. It's a good dimethicone glycerin blend with some aloe. It's got some ginger root, which is really soothing. So we use this on any patches of dry, itchy, or irritated skin, and it really does the trick. Intermittent use of hydrocortisone is recommended, as in, if you need it for a patch of dry, scaly, itchy skin, you can use it until, as directed, until you are seeing notable improvement. But like long-term use, topical use of hydrocortisone, and that generally means 2 to 3 months. So again, using something like this for 7 to 10 days, don't worry about the long-term side effect, which is skin thinning. I know there's a lot of people out there that are a little bit too concerned about using cortisone at all. It does not thin your skin on contact. Take some time for this to happen. You kind of have to, be using it for several months before you're going to start suffering those ill effects. So it's literally a matter of paying attention to how often you're using it. And believe me, when you have that area of scaling or itching going on, particularly if it's related to eczema, not doing anything to calm that is doing far more damage to your skin than hydrocortisone or another topical. There's a whole group of corticosteroids that are available by prescription for cases of eczema that you can talk to your doctor about. But it's just, I don't like people shying away from occasional use of over-the-counter hydrocortisone, because it really can make a world of difference. Last thing. A lot of articles that you will see on winter skincare will say, be sure you drink lots of water. Water. And while staying hydrated is important, you don't want to go too long without a decent intake of non-diuretic type fluids. And by non-diuretic, I mean like if most of your liquid intake is caffeinated or has alcohol in it, those are diuretics. Those aren't going to be hydrating. But drinking more water than your body needs, and that can vary from person to person, isn't going to show up as healthier skin. If you are not getting enough water, you will likely see a difference in your skin. But it can often just take just a bit more water, not jugs and jugs and jugs of it, to get back to where your happy medium is. So I'm always leery of the advice to drink more water as a means of dealing with winter dry skin, particularly if that is the sole piece of advice that someone is going to walk away with, because it really isn't going to help. I would far rather you use a humidifier in various rooms in your home to keep the ambient humidity up to where it needs to be, which in most homes in the winter months is going to be between 45 and 50%. You can get I think they're called a hygrometer. We have one out in our foyer, and it measures. It's a little device that measures the ambient humidity, and so you can tell. Ours is digital. You can tell at a glance where the humidity is and whether or not you need to do anything one way or the other to control it. So anyway, drink water when you're thirsty, but don't overdo it as a means of dealing with dry skin, because I promise you'll just be making more trips to the bathroom. All right, let's see. Minutes. Andrea says, has PC ever considered making a heavy-duty foot cream for rough, flaky heels, maybe with a high percent of urea? We have not, although I think that's a discussion worth having. What I like to use on dry, cracked heels, and then I'll wear socks to bed, is I'll do a thin layer of our BHA9, which is 9% salicylic acid, and it's kind of a gel, kind of a slippery gel. So I'll do a thin layer of that, and then I will follow up with a thicker layer of our ultra-rich soothing body butter. You can tell I'm almost out. And that really works well. Like literally overnight, you will wake up and you will have smoother, softer heels, and with less visible cracks. So thank you for bringing that up. I was actually going to talk about dry, cracked heels during the winter months, just in case that, I don't think that's as much of an issue for people during winter as dry hands, because at least during the colder winter months, most of us have our feet covered up with nice cozy socks and slippers most of the time. So, all right, on that note, thank you guys so much for joining me, not just today, but throughout the year. As far as I know, we have every intention of continuing these live chats in 2022. So expect to see me back with more topics. And I love it when you're here live with your questions. Please feel free to leave follow-up questions, or if you're watching this chat after the live broadcast, you can always leave your questions in the comments section. And I do loop back every now and then and answer as many of those as I can. So I'm signing off. Thursday, tomorrow, is my last working day of the year. Can't believe it. And it's been a wonderful year, and we are so, so thankful for all of you for being a part of our Paula's Choice family. And I really want to wish each of you and your loved ones a beautiful holiday season.